Chapter 8, A Mother's Wisdom. Monday night after dinner, Tommy and Brian went to put the horse with no name away for the night. As they were finishing up, Vanessa came outside and asked, "Would you guys like some dessert after all your hard work?" Brian didn't need to be asked twice, so they delayed the trip home to enjoy some treats with Don on the porch. After cookies, Vanessa asked, "Tommy, could you come by tomorrow about the same time and bring your truck?" Don spoke up, "Don't worry about it, guys. I will move whatever she needs moved." Then, turning to his wife, he asked, "What is it you're trying to be moving?" "This doesn't concern you, fella," Vanessa replied. Tommy grinned and said, "Don, this might be one of those okay times." Don chuckled and nodded his head, returning his attention to the plate of cookies. The next day, Tommy and Brian showed up after dinner in the truck. Brian was singing along with "A Country Boy Can Survive" by Hank Williams Jr. on the radio, which he would be singing in the play with his classmates in a few days. Maisie had helped him select it, steering away from "Life is a Highway" by Rascal Flatts and "Party in the USA" by Miley Cyrus. Vanessa climbed in next to Brian and asked if they could drive up to the barn. On the way, Tommy told her about how Maisie had helped Brian select a song. Vanessa shared that Maisie had always loved to listen to Hank Sr. when she was growing up, particularly his song about a wooden Indian who loses his love, and she would play it over and over. She used to act it out in the living room. She chuckled, "I don't know the other two, but if there's a Hank song in the mix, it will always win, even if it's from Junior." When they arrived, Tommy grabbed a handful of hay. "Why do you take hay out to the horse?" she asked. Brian explained that they fed him to get him to come up to the barn. "Does it work?" she asked. "Sort of," Brian blurted out. "He comes to eat the hay, then we have to get a rope around him, and Dad can pull him in where we want him." "Can we try something different tonight?" Vanessa said. "I'll try anything," Tommy said. "Well, let's put the hay in the feeder, sit out here, call the horse, and offer him a few carrots." "You're joking," said Tommy. "Nope," said Vanessa. "Let's sit here on the tailgate and listen to Brian sing his song." "Well, okay," Tommy said. Tommy restarted the song and turned up the music a little. Then joined Vanessa and Brian on the tailgate. In between Brian's bouts of singing, they called the horse by clicking and offering up some sweets. After about the same amount of time it would take for them to chase the horse around the field and get him into the barn, he came up to get the carrots. Vanessa walked him gently to the hay, waiting for him in his stall. They all returned to the house, and Vanessa asked if she could listen to Brian practice his singing again tomorrow night at the same time. "You bet," Brian answered. Tommy just smiled. By the end of the day Tuesday, work had become almost physically unbearable. Most of the meetings consisted of the team yelling at each other. Yelling was becoming the new norm between departments as well. Tommy was trying to lead both his onshore and offshore groups with common goals and policies, but synergy was becoming impossible to achieve as demands were hitting the groups from all angles and becoming unmanageable. Tommy felt the pressure was starting to affect his health. He was always sweating at his work, and his chest and head felt as if they were being squeezed by a vice on most days. Tommy's normal beating from Mr. Mabee graduated to a full-on lashing as the company project was now officially off track. All fingers were pointing at different areas, but the common theme was that the delivery team was responsible for deliveries. Tommy tried in vain to explain that the delivery team relied on other departments for their ability to schedule and deliver products. No. It is your responsibility to get this done." "Is delivery not in your department's title?" Mr. Mabee questioned. "That's not fair," Tommy exploded, feeling he was being blamed for the fault of others and the people for failing to foresee the difficulties of other departments that they were having. "If you want fair, go to a schoolyard. Now get out of my office and get this fixed." Mr. Mabee shot back, a glistening of sweat starting to show on his face. Tommy left for the day and visited his doctor to address his mounting chest and headaches. The doctors asked more questions than normal, then gave Tommy some serious news. He had developed high blood pressure and was going to need to start medication right away, or he was sure to have a stroke or heart attack. He had also started to put on weight. Tommy was beaten and couldn't take much more. He had made his way to his truck. He thought that when it rains, it starts to pour. He paused and reflecting and grinned as he mentally challenged the word pours and becomes a hurricane. He left the medical center for home with a new bag of pills in tow. That night, Tommy and Brian picked up Vanessa. Tommy drove his new horse wrangling team to the barn once more. Along the way, enjoyed Brian singing "A Country Boy Can Survive" over and over. Vanessa asked Brian if he thought he would be able to reach the goal of learning the song before having to sing it in front of the school show on Friday. Brian proudly answered, "Sure I am," and asked if she would attend the event. Before she could reply, the horse materialized like a ghost, seamlessly out of thin air and next to the truck. And Vanessa asked Brian if he could help feeding him and clearing out the old hay. Tommy watched as Brian fed the horse and carrots and walked the meandering giant into the stall for his dinner. The horse was beginning to show up on his own, and Brian was easily being able to lead and do more of the work. Tommy had a moment of clarity and a tingling feeling that something was at play. But he could not direct just what it was as he took a little more detail about what was transpiring around him. On the way back to the house, Vanessa encouraged Brian to practice every night, then said, "I would love to listen to your practice every night before feeding the horse, if that would be okay." After a short moment, he smiled and offered, "Let's make your own little goal and make it an intention to beat it. I'll come on Friday and bring a date or two if you can sing the song to me by Thursday night with just the music." "Deal," Brian chirped. Tommy felt like there was something larger at play than Vanessa was letting on. But he agreed to be there tomorrow with Brian at the same time. The week progressed with Brian's singing improving and the horse arriving a little earlier each day. On Wednesday, Vanessa told Brian that she'd better inform Dawn they had plans for this Friday. Brian beamed with pride and confidence. On Friday, Vanessa kept her word and brought Dawn and Maisie with her to Brian's performance. Tommy took a seat close to the Levi's and waited for the big moment. Brian took the stage and sang like a champ. He knew every part of the song and smiled from ear to ear. After the show, they all went to dinner to Brian's favorite restaurant. Tommy offered to put away the horse, even though Maisie was available to do it. After dinner, the group headed to the Levi's, and Vanessa asked if they would mind driving to the pasture so she could tag along for an encore of Brian's singing. When they arrived at the barn, the horse had already begun making his way to under the shelter. Maisie was shocked. Brian had become used to the horse showing up on time, so he just broke right into his song, and Tommy put the horse in the stall with fresh hay. On the ride back to the house, Maisie asked what had happened, and Brian explained that since they had started showing up playing Hank every night, the horse started coming on his own. "Really?" she answered. "Well, maybe he's a fan of Hank Williams." "That's it. We should call him Hank," Brian said. "Maybe he likes Hank better than Dracula." Maisie agreed and asked Tommy and Vanessa what they thought. "If that's the case, he'd better not bite me anymore," Tommy said. "Hank would be a great name," Vanessa said.